I went thrift shopping. Hi everyone, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today I'm here with a haul, a rather big haul. I went thrift shopping and I was so successful. So it is Friday night. I've got a glass of wine. This is not my first glass of wine. I am still coherent though. That went down the wrong way. Nora is down. It is very dark outside, so I've got the overhead light on. Sorry about the lighting if it's a little bit much, but I really wanted to do this video. I really wanted to show you this haul. I got amazing books. I got so many 2020 releases, all for like an insanely good deal. I'm very excited. So let us dive in. First book I want to share with you is Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. This very recently came out. I think it came out at the end of 2019. And this is the story of a family where there is an unexpected pregnancy. I think of a teenage girl, and it's about how that pregnancy and the child that comes out of the pregnancy changes the dynamics of the family and affects the family. And we go back in time, I think 16 years or something, and learn about how the baby came about. And it sounds wonderful. I really enjoy Jacqueline Woodson's writing. She is very lyrical, a beautiful writer. And when I saw this at a thrift store, I cannot tell you how excited I got. I think I like gasped and like reached over aisles. You know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do when you see a good book. So there is Red at the Bone. Let's read the first line of Red at the Bone. It's gonna be lyrical because it's Jacqueline. But that afternoon there was an orchestra playing. I don't know. It feels like it starts in a really weird place. Interesting. The next book that I want to share with you is That Kind of Mother by Ruman Alam. Now, I specifically found this book because I was looking for books that were like Such a Fun Age, and this book came up time and time again. So this is about a woman named Rebecca Stone in 1985. She has a newborn son that she's very excited about, and she ends up getting a nanny named Priscilla Johnson. So when Priscilla comes into her life, she ends up having this really great bond with her, at least from her point of view. And she's taking care of her son. Priscilla is a wonderful nanny. However, Priscilla dies unexpectedly in childbirth, and our character Rebecca feels the need to adopt the baby, and it's the complexities of this relationship, and it's the complexities of race in here, and it just sounds wonderful, and I was so happy that I found this at a thrift store. It's time to read the first line of That Kind of Mother. Part 1. The book lied. Oh, I like that a lot. I really like that first line. Next is the Awasawa Murders. This was on my Amazon wish list, and I found it like in pristine condition at a thrift store. This is another reason, go thrifting, because you never know what you're going to get. And this is a 2020 release. I think this was published in Japan in many years ago, though, in 2005, which is a long time ago. But this follows a family in Japan in the 70s. One day, pretty much an entire party of guests are poisoned. Someone poisons the drinks, and there's only one survivor, who is a blind daughter, and she somehow survives. Now, the person who is presumed to be the suspect ends up killing himself. And so everyone thinks, oh, well, that seals the deal, and clearly he was the person who did this. And then years go by, and we follow police investigators looking into the actual murders, and they start looking into that blind daughter named Hisako. It sounds really good. Now, I have heard mixed things. Emma from Drinking by My Shelf recently read this and didn't really care for it, so I'm gonna read it for myself and see what I think. But it does, like, the premise, you can't deny how good that premise is. I'm really excited to read the first line of the Awasawa Murders. Let's do it. Prologue. Okay. Ooh, it's a transcript of a police interview with Hisako Awasawa. The interviewer, Detective T, file Awasawa Murders, City of K.I. Prefecture. What do you remember? Not a 5-star first line. Next, I've got The Chain by Adrian McKinty. This is a thriller story that sounds so twisted and kind of slightly unbelievable. It's about a mother who receives a call that says your child has been abducted and kidnapped, and the only way you're going to get your child back is if you kidnap somebody else's child. And so this begins the chain of all of these parents doing this repeatedly, and multiple children are obviously being kidnapped by multiple people. It sounds like a lot of fun and slightly strange. It does seem a little bit unbelievable to me, but I've heard very good things about this thriller. So when I saw it, I was like, I've got to try that. Will this have a doozy of a first line? Here's The Chain. Thursday, 7:55 a.m. She's sitting at the bus stop checking the likes on her Instagram feed and doesn't even notice the man with the gun until he's almost next to her. Well, that's terrifying. Like that, well, that brings you in. I'm super excited about that first line. The next book is a nonfiction book called The Girl with 7 Names, Escape from North Korea. Now, I cannot remember which one of you recommended this to me, but one of my subscribers recommended this, and I saw it there and I was like, yes, I know that that's meant to be amazing. This is the story of her life living in North Korea and growing up in North Korea. Now, she was able to escape to China in 1997 when she was just 17 years old. And it's about her experience growing up in North Korea, and then also her experience moving to China and how vulnerable she is in that move. It's meant to be absolutely amazing. I cannot believe, that people live the way that they do in North Korea. It's unbelievable and also very fascinating. So I'm very eager to get to this one, that's for sure. It's time to read the first line of The Girl with 7 Names. Okay. Introduction. The 13th of February 2013, Long Beach, California. My name is Hyunseo Lee. Okay, so that's not a 5-star first line in any way, shape, or form. Just like a little intro to her, but I am very eager for this one. Next is a book that was in pristine condition, but it had a sticker on it. And I took the sticker off, and in the process, destroyed the cover. And I'm so mad. Here's the sticker, the remnants of the stupid Barnes & Noble sticker. I'm in Canada. We don't even have Barnes & Nobles. I'm very upset right now. Maybe it'll just like blend in over time and I'll feel better about it over time. It's The Guest List by Sarah Blake. Can you see? There was like no choice taking off the sticker. I did not know it would do that amount of damage. I'm very mad, as you can tell. But I will tell you what the guest book is about. I've heard very good things about it. It is a huge book. Oh my gosh, it's like 500 pages. This follows 3 generations of the Milton family, and we start in 1936, and then we move on to New York City in 1959, and then present day, essentially. And the entire family is shifted and their fate is changed when the matriarch, Kitty Milton, says no one night in 1936. She refuses something and it changes her entire life forever. What is that? I would like to know. I've actually heard really amazing things about this book. So I have good thoughts and hopes for this one. I'm gonna ignore this part. I'm devastated. I'm really annoyed. And let me tell you, if I had paid full price and it came with the sticker thing that I've thrown away, and then I removed it and this happened, you bet your butt I would have charged right back into Barnes & Nobles and been like, no. But it was thrifted, so I can't do that. It still makes me really sad. But let's read the first line of the guest book anyway. All right, let's do it. It's the usual story, the man at the tiller reflected regarding the beautiful derelict on the hill. I don't know, that's not a 5-star first line to me. Next is Blue Ticket by Sophie McIntosh. This is a bit of a dystopian world in which women are, again, stripped and robbed of their rights to choose their own destiny. Everyone who first experiences their period, the first time they experience their period, they go to this building, they go to this station where you find out what kind of woman you're going to be. You either get one of 2 tickets. You get a white ticket, which grants you marriage and children, and then a blue ticket, which grants you a career and total independence. She gets a blue ticket, but she regrets this. I don't know how you could even regret something like that. She doesn't feel comfortable with it. She gets pregnant, and there are major consequences, and it sounds fantastic. Really good. 2020 release. How did I get that? At a Value Village. Yes. Let's read the first line of Blue Ticket. It began with the allocating of luck, our bodies pinballs inside a machine. That sounds very good, not a 5-star. Next is American Dirt by Janine Cummings. This follows a woman named Lydia in Mexico. She has a bookstore and she's very happy at this bookstore. She owns it, she runs it. Unfortunately, she is struggling with the influence of the cartel. One day, a man named Javier comes in. He's charming, and it turns out that he's part of the cartel. And her life and her child's life become at risk. She leaves everything behind. She leaves her bookstore and she makes her way north to the US along with many other families seeking safety. And it is about the struggle at the border, the struggle of leaving her home, and then the struggle at the border. It sounds really interesting. I have heard mixed things about this book, but when I saw it there, I just heard, I'm compelled. I'm very interested in this one, so I picked that one up as well. It's time to read the first line of American Dirt. One of the first bullets comes in through the open window above the toilet where Luca is standing. That is a 5-star first line. Wow. Next is Warlight by Michael Ondaatje. He is a Canadian author, and this is just post-World War II. We follow a brother and sister, I believe, whose parents have died or they were abandoned. I think their parents just left them. And they left them in the care of a very strange man that they call the Moth. They think he might be a criminal, but over the time that they live in the same, I think, apartment building as him, they meet all sorts of his friends, and these unlikely figures end up raising these kids in a way and end up taking care of these kids. And it's about their story, and it sounds very fascinating and really, really interesting. This was a big one a couple of years ago, and I've always had a little bit of an interest in this, so I grabbed that when I saw it. Let's read the first line of Warlight. In 1945, our parents went away and left us in the care of 2 men who may have been criminals. That is 100% a 5-star first line. That's so good. Wow. Next, we've got another thriller, and this is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is another one I've heard mixed things about, but the premise of this, I mean, I need to know. This is about a young woman who is going home because I think her mother is either incredibly ill or dying in the hospital. She's going home, but there's an enormous blizzard, and she has to pull off at a rest stop to like wait the storm out, essentially, because she can't see where she's going. So she ends up at this rest stop with many other people, and at some point she goes back to her car and she sees another car, and in that car there is a girl who is caged, and she realizes that someone in the rest stop has kidnapped this girl. And there's like no cell service, of course, because there's a blizzard and all of that, and she needs to get to the bottom of it, and it sounds like so much fun. So I picked up No Exit. Let's read the first line of No Exit. Oops. Dusk. Oops, I'm going too far. Here we go. 5/19, December 23rd. Screw you, Bing Crosby. That's really funny, but not a 5-star. Next is the last in a trilogy that I haven't even started. It's Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is the last in the Red Rising trilogy. I don't have Golden Sun, but I ended up getting this book for like $1. Something along those lines, something so good that I was like, you know, I can get Golden Sun at some point. And I am really interested in this fantasy sci-fi story. I think Red Rising takes place on Mars, and we follow a man who is trying to exact revenge. That's always sounds good to me. So that's the last in the series. I'll get to that at some point. Okay, so let's read the first line of Morning Star. Again, it's like the 3rd in a series, so fingers crossed it doesn't ruin anything for us. Deep in the darkness, far from warmth and sun and moons, I lie, quiet as the stone that surrounds me, imprisoning my hunched body in a dreadful womb. That sounds really good. Now I want to read the series. Next is The Tenant by Catherine Engberg. This, I believe, is a debut novel, and it is a detective book about 2 policemen who find a young woman who has been brutally murdered in her own apartment. She's got these carvings. Someone has carved this intricate pattern on her face. They find out that she was quite close to her landlady, who is an author. And then they find out that the author, this landlady, author lady, has actually written a story in which the victim, Julie, ends up being a murder victim in the book. And so, did she have anything to do with her actual murder? Is this just a major coincidence? I don't know, but it sounds like a lot of fun, so I picked up The Tenant. It's time to read the first line of The Tenant. Wednesday, August 8th. The morning light swirled up dust from the heavy drapes. Not 5 stars. I've got another sequel, even though I haven't read the first book in the series. This is the sequel to The Child Finder by Renee Denfield. So this one is The Butterfly Girl. In The Child Finder, we follow a woman who had been kidnapped in her own childhood. And she has made a career out of finding kidnapped children. And she's on a case in the first one, and I believe she's probably on another case in the second. I don't really want to look inside just in case it ruins something about the first. But again, I saw this for a really good deal, and I could not help myself. Okay, so this is the second in a series, but we do have to read the first line of The Butterfly Girl. Celia knew a bad place when she saw it. I like that, but it's not a 5 star. Next is The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters. I had a copy of this, but it was a library copy, and I really wanted like a fresh copy of my own. And this takes place in 1922 in London. We follow a mother and a daughter. I think she's an adult daughter, but she's unmarried, and they are in a predicament where they have to take people in as residents, essentially. So they take in a young couple. And the woman of this young couple named Lillian, and then the daughter who lives at this home named Frances, end up having an affair. It starts out that way, kind of like a romance, and then apparently something happens that shifts absolutely everything, and you don't really see it coming apparently, and shifts everything, and I think it becomes more of a mystery in the second half of the book. Lauren from Lauren and the Books has loved this book, and so when I saw it, and it looks like completely fresh, like no one's read this, I just knew I had to get it for myself. Alrighty, let's read the first line of The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters. Ooh, that's pretty. All right, 1. The Barbers had said they would arrive by 3. Not a 5 star first line, but it's gonna be a good one. I just have a good feeling about it. Okay, so we've got 4 more to go. Now, this next book, when I saw this for a steal, I think I got it for $1 or $2. I just felt like all is well in the world, even though the contents of this book suggest all is not well in this world. It is Helter, Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders. I have looked for this book at thrift stores for years, literally years. And this was on my Amazon wish list, and nobody's read it. I mean, it is in pristine condition, and I'm so excited. This is a true crime book about the Manson family and the Manson murders, and I think it's written by the prosecutor. I think Vincent Bugliosi was the prosecutor and put Manson behind bars, and it's his story, and it sounds so fascinating. Also, I've been on a real true crime kick, at least in terms of buying, because my new favorite horror book, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, read their little book club, read a lot of true crime, and this was one of them. And it just like solidified that I needed to get this. And then I found it for such a steal. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I have that. Let's read the first line of Helter, Skelter. Oh my gosh, that's a long cast of characters. I'm slightly nervous. Saturday, August 9th, 1969. It was so quiet, one of the killers would later say, you could almost hear the sound of ice rattling in cocktail shakers in the homes way down the canyon. Whoosh. That's very good. I don't know if it's 5 stars, but it makes me want to read it. That list of characters, though, was truly slightly terrifying. Wow. Next is an old favorite of mine that I just didn't have on my shelves, and I found it in pristine condition. Again, like no one has ever read this, and I was so happy to take this home with me. It's Hum If You Don't Know the Words by Bianca Moraes. This is a heartwarming and heartbreaking story of 2 females. One is a young white girl in South Africa in the 1970s. Her parents die very suddenly and she goes to stay with an aunt. And she's obviously struggling with that. And then we also follow a Black woman named Beauty who is looking for her daughter who's gone missing. And their stories interconnect. And I just loved them both in their own unique ways. I love this book. I will definitely reread this book in the future. So happy to find that one. Okay, so I'm kind of cheating because I've already read Hum If You Don't Know the Words. So I don't remember the first line though, but I'm betting it's going to be good. Robin. Oh my gosh. I joined up the last 2 lines of the hopscotch grid and wrote a big 10 in the top square. It's not a 5-star first line, but I love this book to no end. The next 2 are both thrillers. Let's start with the 2020 release. The Swap by Robin Harding. This is about 3 women. We have Lo, who is an actual teenager. We have Freya, who owns a pottery studio. And then we have Jamie, who is a woman who takes a pottery class. And now Freya and Jamie decide to swap husbands for fun. I don't know. And what ensues is essentially Lo feeling left out. I mean, she should be left out of that because she's a teenager, but she feels left out of this friendship and she decides to exact revenge in one way or another. I don't know how, but I have heard really, really good things about Robin Harding's writings, and it sounds interesting and disturbing. I will say that. I'm so glad that this is not me, that none of these people are me. But when do you ever want to be one of the characters in a thriller? I don't know. So there's that one. Let's read the first line of The Swap. Spring 2019. Lo Morrison. I first saw Freya at my high school. That is not a 5-star. Kind of a boring first line, if I'm being honest. The last book was a gamble. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this book. It's The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Now, I think sometimes this book is entitled The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I don't know. The reason that I'm a bit nervous is that there is the reliving of life in here. There's a bit of, not time travel, but it's essentially like Groundhog Day. Like AJ Finn says, Agatha Christie meets Groundhog Day. So this follows a group of people who are at a party one night while the fireworks are going off in the background. A young woman named Evelyn Hardcastle dies, and we follow a man named Aiden who lives the day over and over and over again until he can solve the murder. And I think he ends up going into different people's bodies. Like he'll wake up as Aiden, but in someone else's body, and we'll go through the day from their perspective. I don't know. It sounds kind of ridiculous to me. And I've heard very mixed things about this, but I want to try it out for myself. It just sounds like a good whodunit. I'll give it a whirl. I'll give it a whirl. Let me know, have you read this and what did you think of it? Okay, it's time to read the first line of The 7 Deaths of Evelyn, Hardcastle. Ooh, that's exciting. It has a map. I like it. Day 1. I forget everything between footsteps. Interesting. Wouldn't say it's 5 stars. But those are all of the books that I found at thrift stores. Can we just cheers to thrift stores? Because my God, I cannot believe some of these books. How did I get them? So many of them are in pristine condition. I am still completely devastated by the guest book and what just happened to its cover. Like it is screwed. Like what happened here, people? Okay, people need to stop putting stickers on books if they intend to sell them. Like Barnes & Noble, stop, right? Can we all agree on that? I hope that you guys are doing well. I was gonna do a really, really big haul, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I've gotten so many good thrifted books that I thought I would do a separate one here. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you didn't mind the lighting too much. It's looking a little yellowy on camera for me. I hope that didn't drive you nuts, but I really wanted to film. I had like a craving to film, and so here I am. Let me know as well in the comments below if you've read any of these and what you thought. And if you've gotten anything lately at a thrift store that you've liked safely with a mask on. I would love to know that. And I will chat with you guys soon. Bye, everyone.